Today, at our annual International Stakeholder Consultation, we brought together a very large number of both professional organizations and intergovernmental organizations that are our partners. They each have constituencies of their own that represent a hugely diverse array of perspectives on the transport sector, its activity, and in particular on its funding. And that's today what we wanted to sound them out about. We wanted to learn what for them represent the most important, the key priorities with regard to funding in the transport sector. Well, it was interesting listening to the feedback that we got from the organizations. A number of key concerns sort of were brought out on the table and were discussed. One was the need to identify the real needs for funding. So defining the priorities based on a policy that countries need to put in place. So an organized framework approach, first of all, understanding what you're trying to fund and then how you're trying to fund it. And this actually is not always evident, and they brought that forward. The question of time. So aligning the time frame for especially large investments, and in the transport sector, transport infrastructure sometimes requires very long-term, very substantial investments, and understanding the funding needs over a very long period of time are important. And often this is not taken into consideration when the decisions are made. And so there are many examples of where investments, long-term investments, have not proven to be efficiently carried out over time because the operation of those investments in the long term have not been properly ascertained upstream. So some good upstream thinking about the investments. That was another point that came out. In the current economic climate, funding across sectors, across modes, is at the forefront of the policy agenda. It's identifying current funding sources and optimizing the funding sources that are currently being used. It's also identifying new, perhaps more innovative funding sources that are perhaps at the disposal of the sector, but that aren't yet fully tapped to the moment. And given the current economic climate, which is one of constraint certainly for public sources, but also for private sources of funding, all stakeholders, all constituents of the transport sector are concerned with how the sector, its infrastructure, its operations, its services can be properly financed and funded in the long term.